Did you know that the federal government in the United States has deemed May to be the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month? So I thought, how better would it be than to celebrate Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Native American heritage that I have on hand. So cheers. Let's look at these things that have accompanied the kumbaya nature of, obviously, Asia as a continent as a whole, because everybody gets along so well there. So let me lead you down a journey of the peaceful existence of all these nations, starting with the most peaceful of all of them. This is the Japanese Type 99. Let's see. This one goes here. Look how long this is. This comes all the way to my nose. Because this, once you put it on, then the right way of saying this is Te no heka! And I've actually got two of them right here. Both of them have full mums. Beautiful, but this one has gone through quite a bit of an atrocity. And yes, since they were very prevalent in the Pacific during World War II, I suppose this makes them a Pacific Islanders heritage rifle too, eh? Eh? The Japanese Type 99. Who comes next? Ah, of course. The most Asian American of all of them. This is the K1A1 and this is the K2. Both of them are highly reliable indigenous Korean designs with elements captured from around the world. Both of them shoot 5.56, very reliable. These are from the good Korea though, the southern part. We'll talk about NK in a bit, Naughty Korea. But the southern Koreans, the South Koreans, these are their main weapons. Why is this one, the K1A1 particularly, an Asian American rifle, specifically Asian American? The K1A1s are typically this long in Korea. The reason this is so long is because they wanted to import these into America to make American money, to make some US dollars, some greens. This found its way in Los Angeles on the rooftops of one of the Korean shop owners trying to protect his business.
I only have one shotgun, that's all I have.
We will continue to serve this community by doing the proper way of business.
Then with a true rooftop Korean rifle, the K1A1. Let's move on. Okay, so a sneak peek into what we may have in the future. This is actually the same as this one. Just slight changes. We'll call this one the K2. Well, this one's the K2. And this one in Korea, when they upgraded it, it was a K2C1. We'll call this one the K2 Charlie Niner. This right here is a Daewoo K2. This right here is the Daewoo. On to the next. This is going to be a big one. The Apahm, the Mauser, broom handles. These were pretty common in China. In fact, my friend Ian has a whole book on these bad boys. Warlords like them. Chinese like them. The reason they didn't get Mauser rifles into China was because there were export restrictions and treaties on what the Germans could export. But if it were a pistol with a way to get around, pistol to get around things, this all of a sudden was a very useful device in China because it was a pistol. Notice it's got a 1,000-meter graduated sight on the top. This was actually a huge symbol if you were to step back into China in the 1920s, especially. This was akin to a Tommy gun in the United States. In China in the 1920s, in Shanghai, you would have the mobsters dressed in tuxedos wielding these bad boys out there. And so this held a pretty long history in China. I still thought of very fondly. But we're talking about the Asian American Heritage Month, right? So I have to bring in the Type 56, both the carbine and the SMG, which is the Kalashnikov. It is a long story. Yeah, so these two, the Type 56 SKS and the Type 56 Kalashnikov, they both scream Asian American to me. They came into America in the 80s and the 90s, flooding the market. You saw them everywhere. That's right. The China boys were coming over and trying to make a quick buck. How better to sell commodities to a market than target them with exactly what they wanted? Reliable, accurate enough, cheap, good rifles. And that's what you had, the Type 56 family. These two were prime examples of taking, when life gives you lemons, lemons being communism, you make lemonade. So you make money by the shit-ass lemons that life gives you. And that is Asian Americans. Yeah, that's right. Aha! But you still have this right here. Cursory view, this is a model of the 1911 .45 automatic. It says right here, made in China by Norinco. Is it a piece of shit? It is actually not. It's actually got higher grade steel than most production 1911s made in America. And this is because the Chinese had used their facilities for small arms manufacture. And some of those facilities shared steel sources with places that made tanks and artillery cannons, which were higher grade steel. So this is a 5000 series carbon steel that was actually so hard that American gunsmiths required people to provide the bits for them to mill the slides if they needed to do custom work on it. Why would you do custom work on something like this? Well, I mean, it was one of the cheapest 1911s you can get. However, machine work was quite nice. The slide fitment, everything is very nice. The big thing is, back in the day, back in the 80s, especially the 90s, people were tricking out 1911s because they wanted to compete in IPSC. Action shooting was becoming a thing. So people wanted to kit out their pistols, mill them certain ways, give them Novak sights, give them better grips, and do all sorts of things to customize these things. It was just the Glock of the 90s. And so, well, the Glocks existed in the 90s, but you get my point. You know, you could do a whole lot of things to it. However, you needed a lot of gunsmiths would require you to buy your bits to mill these things out because they didn't want to be breaking bits on the tough Chinese steel that was used into this, the tough Chinese cannon steel. However, one that was less Asian American and more just interesting. This is a Type 54 Chinese Tokarev. This has a seeded history, and I put this right next to the 1911 because this was essentially a Soviet ripoff of this bad boy, and then transferred to China, and they had been making these since 1954. In America, you have your Tech 9s, you have your High Points as the crime guns. In Asia, this is your High Point. It shoots a 7.62 by 25 cartridge that is able to puncture a lot more of your lower grade armor. And it has a black star here. And surprise, what is the nickname for this? This is nicknamed the Black Star pistol. Made in China. Nowadays, lucky to have a few of these imported to America. These were the military ones. You could see the military markings on it. And growing up in Hong Kong, very much, this was a nemesis of the Smith & Wesson M10. Of course, this is my Royal Hong Kong Police issued M10. And yeah, this is the cops and this was the robbers. So there's some more Asian homeland heritage for you. So I did not forget about our brethren in Southeast Asia. That's right, Vietnam used a lot of these guys. Yes. And also some Vietnamese used a lot of these. So typically these were used by the South Vietnamese back then. Let's just say this generated a lot of Asian Americans. And then the naughty Vietnamese used these bad boys. And so, yeah, these kind of have a place. They weren't manufactured in Vietnam, obviously, American and Chinese weapons. But yeah. So those were around. Oh, Southeast Asia, I almost forgot this. This is the closest you Indonesian guys out there are going to get to us reviewing an SS1 Pindad. I have had it in the comment section for people asking about me to look at the Indonesian SS1 Pindad, which is essentially an FNC. It's an FNC copy. So this is an actual FNC. The SS1 Pindad is the same as this. And so it's coming. Anyways, did we miss anything? I don't know. Oh, I almost forgot this one. This one. Yes. Is this an AR-15? Sort of. This is my take on the Type 91, the Taiwanese rifle. Of course, it is highly modified from its original state. So, more on this coming on the show. All right. So we've got Taiwan in here as well. We'll put this one right here, huh? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? So this was a bit of a spur of the moment video I've made for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This is a lot of Asian American heritage to take in, I know. A lot of Pacific Islander heritage to take in. What a massacre. And I'm most certainly sure that this is exactly what the federal government wants us to celebrate during the Heritage Month. By the way, if your local government's not a fan of these things, remind them where gunpowder was invented. That's right. Tell them to pipe down and celebrate Asian Heritage Month with me, Henry Chan from 9-Hole Reviews. Bye-bye.
716 is Steel 96, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Steel 96, this is 716, roger, over. 16, Steel 91, 1 pack, green, over. This is 716, roger, over.
16, Steel 92, 1 Victor, 2 packs, Redcon 1, over.